Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Never Seen It. This is a podcast about movies that we haven't seen yet. I am your host. My name is Betsy, and with me is Trent.
And my name is Trent.
Your name is Trent.
It's always Trent.
It's not short for anything.
It's not.
Sometimes people think your name must be Trenton, but it isn't. It's just Trent.
Never been Trenton, never will be Trenton. It is not on my birth certificate. I have checked.
Today we are watching a movie from 2005. We are moving along in our Decades series, and this is a film that I have seen but one time, and Trent, you have never watched it. And there's a few movies from 2005 that we could have selected, but there's only a few that really get talked about for one specific reason in particular involving the Academy Awards. And we are covering one of those movies today. It's the movie that did not win Best Picture, quite controversially, that we will probably address later in the episode. We are watching Brokeback Mountain. Trent, this is kind of one that I think people might be surprised that you haven't seen at this point. And maybe also more surprised that I've only seen it one time. And that was almost 20 years ago. So tell our listeners what you know about Brokeback Mountain.
So this is the gay cowboy movie.
To be very reductive about it,
Yes. So I remember hearing a lot about it back in 2005. I remember hearing the controversy that happened after it did not win Best Picture. And it lost to Crash, right? That was the big controversy.
Correct. It was Brokeback Mountain and Crash was the one that took the big prize.
Jesus, and I've actually seen Crash too. That movie sucks. Anyway, so yeah, it is the gay cowboy movie. It is set, I believe, in Wyoming/Montana, and I think it is also kind of a period piece in the 80s, if I'm not wrong.
I think it actually starts earlier than that, but we spend some time, like years, with these people.
Yeah. Obviously, this is starring Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal as the two dudes. I think Michelle Williams and Anne Hathaway are also in this movie.
Correct.
So definitely some big up-and-coming stars in 2005 at the time anyway. And the movie kind of covers these two guys meeting each other and just realizing what they actually are. This is not something where they know that they're gay and they're living a lie in public, but, you know, there's a lot of struggle here, and my understanding is that the acting is really where it's at.
I want to say all four of these people got nominated for Academy Awards, or at least three of them did. Something we will fact check here after we watch the movie. So that is definitely something that people talk about when it comes to this movie. Do you know who directed it? Do you remember?
Ang Lee, yeah.
Ang Lee, yes. He is... I'm going to have a lot of things to say about Ang Lee because his filmography is really interesting.
It's wild. Like,
it's a wild,
I think I've seen
set.
one Ang Lee movie, and that is that Hulk movie.
Oh my, and that is not this one.
No.
But they were made so close together.
You're right.
That is definitely a topic we'll be covering later in this episode.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you know before we go and watch this movie?
I know that it's not a controversial take, but the bar is not very high to be better than Crash. So I'm excited to go and finally watch this movie.
It is certainly an iconic movie that we will have many things to talk about. But first, we have to go watch it. So we are going to go watch Brokeback Mountain for 2005, and we will be right back. And we're back. That was Brokeback Mountain. Trent, how are you feeling after watching that one?
After a movie like that, you can't help but feel a little sad.
It is a deeply sad movie, and I think that's maybe the reason I've only watched it once, and that was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw this 2006, 2007. It was probably something I picked up at the library. I know I was living at home with my parents, and so it had to be early days. It was early days after this movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely one you need to be in a specific mood to watch. It's a gorgeous movie. The movie is so beautiful and the acting is incredible, but it's deeply sad.
Yeah, in that same vein, I can't help but think about these Asian directors coming into the upper Midwest of the United States and looking at the majesty of what this part of the country really offers, especially with Chloe Zhao, who also won for Best Director when she did Nomadland. And that was basically all in South Dakota. It's all of these huge vistas, and especially this movie with all of the fucking mountains everywhere, the clouds, the weather, the everything.
Nature
it is gorgeous.
Nature is its own character in this movie.
Oh my God, yes.
That's the thing about Wyoming that I think people forget. They assume, oh, it's another one of those flyover states, and there are parts of that state that are more rural than our own. And we live in South Dakota.
Oh yeah.
But they also have the fucking mountains and snow caps.
We barely have mountains
and these
in this state.
Giant, beautiful, open, grassy fields. And it definitely plays a big part in this movie in a way that if you set it somewhere else, it's not going to feel the same. You know, a dusty mountain in the desert is not going to have the same impact as these like really warm, welcoming mountains.
Yeah, it's a place where you can just kind of let go. And I think that kind of lends it to this movie and these characters and everything that is coming out here. So the fact that these guys, when they do go up there, and of course they love doing this, when they go up there, they can just let everything go. And a guy like Heath Ledger's character in this movie, Ennis, he has so much just pent up inside of him that he doesn't even like to talk to anybody, period, about anything.
When they have that scene at the beginning where they're kind of first connecting, the very first time that they actually have a conversation, and Jack says, "That is more than you have said in 2 weeks." And he says, "That is more than I've said in a year."
Yeah.
This is a guy who is so internal. His entire life, frankly, not just the movie, his entire life.
Yeah.
He keeps everything about himself, any kind of hopes and dreams he may have, it is crushed down deep inside of him.
Yeah.
And when it comes out, it's explosive.
And part of what he's talking about in that first encounter is, you know, when I was a kid, both of my parents were killed in a car accident, and my siblings were the ones who raised me, and amongst some other family members, but he's not really a person that has had a good home life, let's say.
His entire life is pretty shit. It's pretty shit. Like, he's very rarely in this movie happy. Like, very rarely does he smile. Otherwise, he is angry and lonely and sad. And that is what's going to happen to you if you are in a time and a place where you are different. Whatever that means. If you are just different from everybody else around you and you don't even understand it yourself and you just keep it down inside because you've been taught by people around you, that's bad. Whatever you think is going on here, it's bad.
Or on the flip side of that, you are told what is good and proper. It's not to say anything else is bad. There's no negativity there. But if you're told that you need to go to church every week, you need to meet a nice girl, get married, have some kids, move to the city, and do the thing that you're supposed to do in the 1960s and 70s.
And you don't get divorced, you stay together.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what is going on. Divorce is not even a fucking option. So you're told all of these things that you should do, even though there's a part of you that is being pulled in a different direction. And it's not just, hey, it's a way of living, it's a way of loving. It's also having the courage and having the ability to say a contrary opinion, to say a contrary thing amongst an entire room of people that might think one way, you're the only person who thinks another way. That is what happens in small town America. That is what happens in very conservative America. I'm sorry. It's just how it is.
And that's how it was even worse 60 years ago.
Absolutely. And Betsy and I can attest, we have basically lived in South Dakota our entire lives. This is a very conservative state. And we are surrounded by a whole lot of conservative people. So a movie like this, coming full circle here, a movie like this, you show somebody in 2005, 20 years ago, relatively a short amount of time, but 20 years ago, you show a movie like this to somebody like our parents, who by most rights are a little bit more, you know, progressive and liberal, whatever you want to call it.
With conservative tendencies, however.
Yeah, you show a movie like this to them, they would completely dismiss it.
Or they just would get uncomfortable and don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's confronting a topic in 2005 that people weren't ready to have that conversation, even though America as a society had been moving that way for at least 20 years.
Exactly. So you take the people from that generation, this generation, mind you, the people in this movie.
These guys at the beginning of the movie are only a little bit older than our own parents.
Yes.
Maybe like 10, 15 years older.
So you can kind of see, especially because our folks grew up around here, at least my folks did, and your dad did anyway.
Minnesota, not far from here.
Yeah. They look at a movie like this, and they also are reminded of what the feeling is in the country, in the area, really, not just the country, but in this very small part of the country. So I want to make sure that when we say these things, it is also coming from a perspective. Like, we were both born in the mid-'80s, and we've talked kind of around this topic a little bit here and there, depending on the movies that we're watching. I remember saying that when I was in high school, I didn't know what gay was until I got to high school. And even then, I didn't really even know.
And most people our age didn't really understand it, but they heard the word the first time because of Ellen DeGeneres.
That was Will and Grace.
That was the first wave of, wait, that's a thing that exists.
Pop culture was the thing that pushed us forward.
It was a public accessible idea. But when you have two guys in fucking rural Texas and rural Wyoming in 1963, where half the country doesn't have a TV, cell phones certainly aren't a thing, you communicate by postcard.
Right.
You just said it before we started recording. They might not even have a word for this.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know that people like this exist outside of themselves.
Jake Gyllenhaal, when he was doing research for this project, he was reading a bunch of material that was given to him by the filmmakers and from the writers. And Gyllenhaal said, I don't think that these two characters even know what gay is. Which, when you really think about it, what part of that culture would have ever been exposed? Like, how would they have been exposed to that culture?
At the time of this movie, it would have been a hidden culture.
Yeah.
It existed, but it was under the surface. And unless you went somewhere or met somebody or knew somebody, the thing I'm saying, we didn't know what it was. In the 90s, it had to be introduced. It's a concept that had to be introduced to us. And whether we understood it or not, we didn't know what that word was or that those kinds of people existed.
Right.
And in 1963 in particular, you would have to be told. You would have to be told. So to be coming together with this person on a mountain, and you have never really had these intimate moments with another person in any capacity, male or female, you've opened up to them in a way that you didn't plan, and then it just sort of happens.
Yeah, and the Heath Ledger character here, he says something, I cannot remember exactly when it happens here, I'm not looking at my notes, but he tells Jack, I'm not queer. So he knows what it is that they are doing. So the only thing that I can really think of here, his only exposure to this word and this concept comes from hanging out with a bunch of other guys who want nothing more than to find a queer and beat him up or maybe even kill him.
Well, he tells that story where there's a moment in the movie where Jack suggests we could be together. We can find a way to make it work.
We can make it work, yeah.
We'll get a ranch. We'll just live together. Who's going to know? Nobody needs to know our business. And Ennis relates a story of there was somebody in his community that did that.
When he was 9 years old.
Two old, hardened guys, ranch hands. Nobody would have thought anything of it. But somebody found out that they were queer, as he put it.
Yep.
And one of them was killed. And his dad took him and his brother out when he is 9 years old to show him the body. And basically make a point. This is what happens if you are like this, if you are different.
And Ennis said, for all I know, my dad was one of the people who did it.
Yeah. If that is not enough for you to say, I can't pursue this seriously.
Right.
The only way this is going to work is in secret at a distance.
And
we have to isolate ourselves from the rest of the world, and we live in a bubble.
And exactly. And because Ennis lives in that bubble of this Wyoming area, he never fucking leaves there ever. You think that you could just move away to a more tolerant place? wherever that happens to be. I guess it's Mexico.
It's a magical land that doesn't exist in 1963
Exactly.
America.
So you think you take a guy like this and plop him somewhere else? There's no way that's going to happen.
But that's what's so complex about his character. All of this is just inside. He is not letting any of this out. He is hiding what he is from even himself. He is afraid of what the world thinks. He can't ever really advance beyond it. He wants it, he needs it, but he can't have it. And it's just
And he knows it.
And he knows it. And all of these things just fuck him up. He is just eating himself from the inside. And as I touched on, when it does come out, he is like beating other people up, starting fights. He gets his ass kicked a few times because the other thing we haven't talked about is the hypermasculinity shoved on boys at this time. Like, you are supposed to be a man, especially in Wyoming where we are like ranch hands and tough guys and cowboys. You have to be these things. His father-in-law, Jack's father-in-law at the Thanksgiving scene, he overhears the conversation where Jack is trying to get his son to do something. So what's his punishment? Turn off the TV. His father-in-law stops carving the turkey, goes and turns the TV back on, and basically says, boys gotta be tough. And this goes back and forth.
Boys should watch the NFL.
Yeah, they gotta watch football because they gotta be tough. Meanwhile, you are in someone else's house. And you are carving the turkey and you are acting like you are the only way.
Yeah.
This is my way or the highway. And when Jack has that outburst, he's like, sit down, you crusty old son of a bitch, basically. Like, this is my house. You're the old way.
Yeah.
Fuck you. This is my kid,
You are my
house.
guest. This is my child. This is my table. I paid for all of this, and you're going to sit your ignorant ass down while Anne Hathaway is having a little smirk on her face. Because that's probably the only time that anybody in that man's life has ever stood up to him.
But that is the representative moment of the previous generation and how they did things and how you ended up with all these kids who are fucked up. You know, they don't know how to be parents in a healthy, modern way because all of their dads just beat their asses and showed them dead bodies. And if they didn't do that, they ignored them.
It's also how you get, when you go to the other side here, it's also how you get huge families. The moment here where Heath Ledger and Michelle Williams are having sex, well after they have a couple of kids already, they're having sex and she stops him to say, you know, we can barely make do as it is. You're not wearing a condom here. I'm not on any kind of birth control because birth control is barely a thing while they're doing this. If we're going to have sex right now, I don't think that we can really support anything that is going to come about from it.
She basically says, we're having a hard time and we can't afford to have any more kids.
Yeah.
And this scene is really intense where
it's so intense.
His response is, well, if you don't want my children,
then
I'll leave you alone. And her immediate response is, I'll have as many as you want if you support them.
If you support them.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cut
and
to divorce.
As the breadwinning macho fucking guy, I need to be able to support my family, and in whatever capacity that is. You got how many people out there in this era having umpteen different children, and a lot of them grew up extremely fucked up because they didn't get the attention that they would need. So it's really putting, this movie is putting a mirror up to not only these people, but to this era of America, which is why I'm saying, man, this should have won Best Picture.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's
not even a question in my mind. I don't even remember all of the other movies that got nominated that year. It doesn't matter.
Well, I can tell you a couple of them. So one of them was Good Night and Good Luck, which you love.
I love that fucking movie. It's not worthy of a Best Picture win, though.
I think the other ones were Munich and Capote, maybe?
I don't know if Capote actually got nominated for Best Picture.
I'm missing one of them, but I can't remember what the fifth one was. But it was down to this movie, which, yes, it is about a topic that we weren't really doing in film in 2005.
Yep.
But it's also about all these things we just said.
Mm-hmm.
It is about the previous generation and how they treated their kids and isolation in America and denying who you are to yourself and everyone around you.
Also, small town America.
Small town America.
The ranching business and how bad the economy was in the 70s.
They mention it. They have like a tiny message
talk about
in the
inflation.
70s about inflation. But then you've also got like Michelle Williams, who early on figures out exactly what kind of relationship
She
her and
sees
her.
it.
Yeah, she sees what Jack and Ennis do. Like they're kissing and she can't
Violently.
ignore it. Like, it's not a secret to her, but she just shuts up about it because as the little housewife in those days, you suffered through. So for them to have this marriage basically from that moment on fall apart because she knows his secret, he doesn't know it, but he also has a secret. This secret tears them apart.
It really does. And there's also the element here of her going out of the house to work because they can't afford anything.
Which
They
again
have-
was unusual.
They have 2 other mouths to feed here. He can't make do with whatever meager money that he's bringing in because he never gets out of this. I'm a rancher and this is what I need to do. He never tries to do anything else because that's what he knows.
So getting to see her side of it, where she is, again, the long-suffering wife, she just suffers in silence until they can't take it anymore and they get divorced. But it's not until the 70s. Like, they make it all the way to the 1970s in this movie before those two finally separate. And she gets remarried pretty quickly afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that people in America just did. You just stayed married. Like, for obscene amounts of time. Another thing that really fucked your kids up.
I mean, I've told this story before in our Mrs. Doubtfire episode. It's a very strange thing to really reference here. But in that movie club episode, I told a story about my aunt and uncle who ended up getting divorced. And it was a violent situation. They had 3 kids of their own. And they stayed married for a good long time while the violence was happening, both, physically and verbally and mentally. They're about the same ages as the people in this movie because, again, you just suffered through it. It was an unspoken thing. And even when it was happening, this is the mid-fucking 90s. I remember when they separated that first day when she finally had enough, she came over to our house, my parents. She came over to our house with their kids. And the pastor of their church came to our house to tell them to not get divorced.
Get back together.
Oh my fucking God. This happened in my lifetime in front of me. I'm sorry. It's bringing up a whole lot of feelings now, and I don't like it.
Well, then let's just move on from that topic of conversation. Another thing is just the fact that this plays out over 20 plus years.
Yes, I had no idea that this movie lasted this fucking long in the timeline of these 2 men.
Yeah, you think, oh, they meet up and it's a short time in their life. No, they meet in 1963. They spend the summer together and then they part ways and do not see each other for 3 years. And they mention, oh, well, Jack comes up from Texas and they go on these fishing trips 2 to 3 times a year.
Right.
So they're seeing each other, but we don't spend all that time with them. We keep jumping, where we're seeing he got married and had 2 kids, and Jack got married and has a kid. And we're moving forward in time, and they get, older, and their lives are getting harder because it's that double-edged sword where it's almost better if they had called it off and never continued with this, because every time they get together, it makes it that much harder for them to stop getting together.
Totally.
And so it's just the effect that this has on them and their wives and their lives as a whole. Like, you see them over 20 years, how they change and how it's getting harder and harder, and they are just getting so much more internalized and explosive. And to spend your entire life denying yourself something that you want because of the societal pressures around you and the demands of the life that you have set up for yourself. Like, you have a wife and you have children and you have a job. That's your life. You and this other guy on Brokeback Mountain, that's not your life. It's what you might want.
It is a fantasy that you get to live out.
Yeah. But it is so hard for them to keep it up. it really becomes a challenge for them. And the way that they are putting more effort into that than their own marriages and their own lives, they say as much as the movie progresses.
They do.
And there's that moment where Ennis says, they're packing up from this trip. I don't think I can get up here again until November. And there's an absolute disappointment in Jack saying, you knew about this. You could have told me a week ago.
Yeah, exactly. You could have told me right when we showed up here. We could have worked it out another way.
And they basically have a breakup scene here. They have a fight and they don't see each other again. I think this is the last time they see each other in the movie.
It is.
And Jack brings up the fact, we could have tried this. I had a suggestion. I said 20 years ago, let's make a life together. Whatever that means.
Yeah, and whether or not it would have worked out, whether or not they could have set up this ranch somewhere because, hey, Jack's got some money because he's been working and he could just set it up. This is exactly what he wants. But because Ennis just knows in his heart of hearts that it's going to end and end badly for the two of them if they were to do this and do it in this locale.
I think he's afraid of it more than anything.
Totally.
I think the emotion that is mostly leading his decision-making is that fear.
100%.
Because if you've never seen someone do that, how can you be the brave one and do it first? How can you be the one that goes and lives with this man on a ranch somewhere in a society where you're like, that doesn't happen. No one does that. The person I knew who did that got killed.
Right. And his father showing him and telling him that story about this other person who was murdered. That's enough to really put the fear in you and put it in there for the rest of your life.
And he's also afraid for Jack because Jack says something about, I go to Mexico, and he threatens to kill him. Like his response is, well, you shouldn't be going somewhere else to get something that you're getting from me.
Yeah,
it's that weird,
I don't know
counterintuitive response.
Is it a jealousy thing? Is it a fear thing?
Yes.
Is it everything under the sun?
Yes.
It's an emotional response here to, hey, you're getting something that I'm not able to get. I'm saving myself for you. I'm not trying to do anything else with anybody else other than my wife, and I don't even have her anymore. So the fact that you are going out there and he finds out, I guess from his parents, that there was another guy that he was going to try to shack up with and make this other ranch thing happen. So it just goes back to, these are also two different people. Ennis has his hangups, and I think Jack is a lot more comfortable with it because he hasn't had that exposure to the negativity. He hasn't had the exposure or the fear instilled in him by his family, by anybody really. And maybe that ends up being his undoing.
Well, I do want to talk about Jack, but first we're going to take a really quick break to take a word from our sponsor. Feeling run down, lethargic, a little bloated?
Yes. Oh, God, yes.
Well, have I got the prescription for you?
Oh, no, not another pill. I take enough of those that I find in the dumpster behind the Burger King.
Oh, no, it's better than any dumpster pills. It's patreon.com/neverseenitpod.
I'm interested. Tell me more.
It's premium content from those jokers at Never Seen It. They have 4 other weekly shows, plus bonuses.
I've heard of those guys. They're like super talented and funny.
And sexy. Don't forget sexy.
Oh, then I'll definitely check them out. Thanks, disembodied voice.
Anytime. So you mentioned Jack being the one in this relationship where he is maybe more open to the idea of trying. Like there's this scene where Ennis and Alma get divorced and Jack just shows up. He says, I got your card.
He's so excited.
He is so excited and hopeful.
He thinks that him sending the postcard saying, hey, I got divorced is the opening that he's been waiting for.
The invitation.
Finally, I can show up here and we're going to go off and do the thing that I suggested years and years ago because he's no longer tied down to his wife. But this is the other wrinkle to this story. Ennis has a couple of kids that he loves.
He tries to anyway. He does.
In his way.
I don't think he is like a great father, but I think it's because there's a lot of that internalization. Like you aren't open and affectionate with your kids. That's kind of this generation, basically our parents and everyone before. you are just distant from your children.
Right.
They are your offspring. There they are.
I'm going to give you away at your wedding.
That's about
and
it.
That's the extent of it.
But good luck ever getting an I love you out of me.
Right.
Because frankly, Trent, those are 3 words that are not uttered in this entire fucking movie.
No.
Nobody says it. So this is like the closest moment that Jack gets to I love you. Like he is driving 14 hours from Texas and he throws his arms around him. And he's just like, I'm so excited. It's finally happening for us because your wife isn't there. I'll leave my wife. I've got no problem with that.
Yeah. He says later on that, you know what, our marriage is, you know what, I might as well just phone it in.
Literally, we could do this over the phone.
Yeah.
We don't work very hard at it, so what's there to save? But the disappointment from the moment from hope to Ennis is just, my kids are here. They're my priority.
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought was going to happen, but it's not going to happen. And he drives away and is just getting so emotional in the car. That's a devastating fucking moment in this movie.
It is.
Like if you drove.
One of many.
If you drove that far for something that you've been waiting for over a decade.
Yeah, for years and years.
Because you think it's finally going to happen. And then you drive home. You just go home. And you continue on this loop of sometimes.
You thought you were going to be able to cut ties. And he's lucky that he didn't cut ties when he left. Honestly.
He didn't burn the bridge when he left.
So he goes there and he's coming home immediately semi-empty handed. Like there's nothing to show for this trip going up there. And this is the moment where Jack ends up going to Mexico and hooking up with some rando off the street. Because clearly he wasn't going to be able to get it from Ennis, at least at this moment anyway. My feeling about him is that he allows himself the privilege to go and get laid every so often. Whether that's with Ennis, whether that's with some rando dude or some rando chick.
Yeah, he says somewhere he's been fooling around with like the foreman's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a correction here. I don't know if this is a gay cowboy movie or not. I mean, I think Ennis is probably gay, but I think Jack just likes to fuck. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think what it boils down to, Trent, is it's complicated. I don't think they know what they are because they just refer to it as this thing between them.
Right.
You know, the first time it happens, they're just in a tent, they're drunk, and they get physical with each other. They have sex before they ever have any kind of intimacy with each other.
Did you also notice here, talking about that in particular, intimacy, their love scenes, as it were, are very aggressive when they're kissing and making out and when they actually do have sex. It's very aggressive because maybe that's what you're also kind of taught that, okay, lovemaking or sex or whatever word you want to put on it has to be aggressive. You need to be physical with your lover.
You're the man.
Yeah.
That's basically, it's the permeating theme throughout this movie.
And these two guys need to be the men of each other.
You have to be hyper masculine. And there's that thing where Jack is trying to kiss Ennis. He's trying. And Ennis is like, no, no, no. But then
he tenses up.
But then they have sex. And then later on, when they kind of realize, okay, we both want this, that's when they kiss, and it is much more sensitive.
Yeah,
but even
that's the intimacy coming through.
But even there's a hesitation there because they know that there's lines, and once they've crossed them, there's no coming back from it. And when they're by themselves up on this mountain, they do have moments where they're like playing and kind of cuddling and tickling, and it's like very sweet and innocent.
Even before that, there's a couple of moments here where if you didn't know what this movie was, you would have maybe got the vibe that, oh, something might be going on here, because there's one scene here where Ennis is washing himself. He's naked in the background, but it's a blurred background. But we get the foreground shot of Jack, and you can just tell by the look on his face that he wants to turn around and take a look.
But he's holding steady. He will not look.
Yeah. So the desire is there. I think Jack he likes someone and he goes after them. He doesn't know why. He just does.
But it's when the two of them are together that it's the most palpable.
Yeah.
And they even say, if this comes out, if this happens between us at the wrong time in the wrong place,
Yes.
and that's frankly what ruins Ennis's marriage, because the first time they're reunited after 3 years, he cannot help but push Jack against the wall and start kissing him.
Again, aggressive.
Very aggressive. And then they separate, and then Jack does it right back to him. And this is the moment that Alma happens to come to the door and see it.
Oh,
so she knows from this moment what this relationship is. This man she's never heard of, this person she's never met, is making out with her husband.
And from this point on, Ennis is completely cold to his wife, and the looks that she gives this camera, oh my God. I can tell why Michelle Williams got nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this case, I think. I can tell why she got nominated, because holy crap.
Again,
there is so much behind the eyes there.
Internalized.
Yeah.
She knows, and you see it on her face every second she is on screen for the rest of the movie, until she finally has it out with him. And she doesn't even say it. She could say, "I saw you kissing him." She could say those words. But instead,
then what? What would she do? What would they do?
But instead, she just needs her own. She needs to get some of her own. And she says, "You were going on these trips, and I left you a note, and I opened that tackle box, and you've never fished once.
You said that you're going to go fishing, and you always take your gear, which, hey, yeah, you're going to take your gear, but she left a trap. She left a note on his fishing line, I think, saying, hey, catch us some big ones and bring us some back." The note was never touched. That line never hit the water. They've never actually gone out there really fishing.
They've never fished
and she
ever.
knows immediately that every single time that they have gone out, that's what they're doing.
And she knows her husband is a liar. She knows he's a liar, and she has known for some time, and nothing is ever going to change. And she just has to live with that. And this is the one moment that she confronts it.
Yeah, and at this moment, everything is unraveling in Ennis's life. He has this happy little arrangement where he's coming over there for this holiday with the kids and the new husband. He is allowed to be in that world and continue to be a quote-unquote family man like he's supposed to. But then she lays this on him, and you can just see the tenseness building up inside of him, and he starts to get bigger, and he starts to almost fucking punch her.
Because he doesn't want to be confronted with what he is.
He doesn't want anybody to know ever.
No, he is so ashamed of it himself and doesn't know how to live as his true self. Like, it's devastating. It's a fucking devastating movie. All of the actors in this are amazing. Like, they really, really are.
They really are.
I know that you were reading Ang Lee won for Best Director.
Yes.
And the biggest disappointment he had was not that the movie lost Best Picture, but that Heath Ledger didn't win for Best Actor.
Yeah, there's some moments here that we haven't even mentioned yet. Like the first time they come back and they separate, they go their separate ways. He stops at this fucking shed somewhere and he completely breaks down.
He walks away, goes into an alley to puke, and then punches a wall and starts sobbing.
Yeah, the anxiety is building up in him so much. Like, he's having to go back into the world where he has to hide himself and just not be himself anymore. And it's dawning on him that I can't be like I was for the past however long that I was up there with him. And the violent tendencies that come out of him when he is confronting this fear are immediately apparent, because somebody is just walking by, some random dude, and Ennis just says, "What the fuck are you looking at? Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to kick your ass."
Well, even before that, like, their boss in the beginning is Randy Quaid, and he goes up to the mountain and he sees them. He knows what they are doing and doesn't say a word. But there's a snowstorm in August because they're way up on the mountain. And he says, "You know what? Bring them down. Bring the sheep down. We're going to call it. The storms are getting bad." And when Ennis finds this out, he says, "Well, that's bullshit. You know, we're being shorted a month. He's not going to pay us."
He's talking about money, yeah.
He's talking about money. But really, he doesn't want to go.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go back to his life.
And the next scene, he is sitting alone, just kind of contemplating the fact that he's got to go back home. And Jack comes and talks to him, and they start kind of wrestling. And then it escalates quickly to them kicking the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
So that's like the transition here is, I don't want to go, to fuck you, get away from me, to I'm puking in an alleyway, because he doesn't know how to process this. And that's the only way he can deal with his emotions is just either outbursts or none. Those are his settings. Either I feel nothing or I feel everything. And yeah, he's extremely, extremely good in this movie. And the only time I ever was like, that guy slipped in his accent was he said the word girl kind of funny.
Oh, okay.
There was just like one word, but it's so small and it's so easy to just completely miss. Most people probably would never notice that.
We've talked about this guy before, but there's a dialect coach that does YouTube videos. His day job is coaching actors how to do accents.
He helped Austin Butler with Elvis.
Yes, he did.
That's his latest claim to fame.
But he has shown clips from movies where actors are putting on accents, and he pointed out this Heath Ledger character as one of the things that is maybe the most well done, in that not only is he nailing this Wyoming accent,
because they do have one.
They do. But not only is he nailing the accent, but he is also kind of pursing his lips together, and he's barely projecting anything out of him, to the point where, like, a couple of times I thought about turning on subtitles because I couldn't understand what the fuck he was saying.
He's mumbling through a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because that's his character.
But again, it's the character of being so tightly wound that he can't even speak.
Stiff upper lip. But not British.
But not in that way, yes.
And where he's doing that, Jake Gyllenhaal gets to be a little more like fun-loving. You know, he's a cowboy that is also in the rodeo. His dream is to be in the rodeo. He wants to ride bulls. He can't rope steers. That's not his thing. He doesn't do the barrel races. His thing is, I want to ride the bull, because that's like the most masculine thing he could decide to do in that kind of, I guess, game, if you want to call it that. I don't know, sport?
I don't know. It's
what do you call that?
It's entertainment.
And of course, he marries somebody who is in that world.
Right.
So they're kind of perfect for each other. But like, he doesn't go up to the girl. She comes on to him.
Yeah, she is extremely aggressive here.
But he's into it. So they end up getting married and having kids. And he sort of gets bullied by his father-in-law until he finally stands up for himself. He doesn't make the moves on his wife. He then goes and works for his father-in-law. Like, he just joins the family business, and he's sort of coasting through, but he at least has some personality about it, and he's willing to, make efforts. He tries to find a way to be with Ennis, and he tries to find a way to get the physical touch that he needs, and he tries to accept who he is.
Yeah, and when they have one of their final encounters here, Jack asks Ennis, really, you've never found another gal to be with in order to, live a quote unquote normal life, because you did it once, you can do it again. When in reality, the only reason why he married the Michelle Williams character is because they're fucking lifelong friends. They've known each other forever.
And that's just what you did.
Yeah.
You got married when you were in your 20s. You started making babies.
This person is your same age, so of course you're going to marry them, because there's no other options in this very, very small town. But in that conversation, he says, well, yeah, I got this one girl. She's a waitress. She wants to be a nurse. But then his body language is just, I'm just shaking my head. I don't really care about her. I have no desire to be with her.
He has no desire to be with anybody but Jack.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing he won't allow himself to have, because he's so afraid of it. And he's so just, I have to live this life I've set for myself. I can't change. I won't change.
I will never move. I'm never going to work on anything other than being a ranch hand.
I have no skills. I have no education.
Yeah.
I have no drive. This is my life.
And honestly, it is the same kind of attitude that a lot of just regular farmers have, where a farmer is a farmer until the day they die.
My dad was a farmer. His dad was a farmer. His dad was a farmer.
I'm gonna die on this fucking tractor. Literally sometimes.
Especially again in the 1960s.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing. The other thing that we haven't touched on, talking about Jack, is at the end of the movie when we meet Jack's parents. And this is not what I expected exactly, because he says, my dad never did a thing for me. He was a bull rider, but he never taught me anything. He didn't ever do anything for me. but they live around Wyoming. So he moved away.
Yep.
He was like, fuck Wyoming, I'm moving to Texas because that's where they do bull riding, and he tries to have an adventure and live his own life.
He tries to actually have a goal in his life, really.
But this house is the most sterile, white, undecorated, sad little place that
The
he
word
comes
is
from.
inornate.
Inornate, yes. And his mom, she seems to, like most mothers, have an inkling she understands.
Moms know.
Moms always know. It's no surprise to the moms.
Yeah. I like the dad is, again, one of these guys who is set in his ways. Damn it, we have a family plot, and by golly, we're going to bury him there. Who the fuck cares?
I don't give a shit if his wishes were to be on some damn mountain.
I know where Brokeback Mountain is. He needs to be with his family. Well, you didn't fucking care about him when he was alive. Why would you care about him when he's dead?
It makes you just look at Jack in a different way. At the very end of the movie, the whole movie, they're really, really adept at kind of just laying out all these little pieces of why these two guys are the way they are.
Yeah.
At the beginning, the middle, and the end of the movie.
And I think when Ennis goes there, he realizes that Jack was closer to himself in how he was brought up and whatnot. He was closer to himself than he ever realized, which is why I think it's so special that Jack kept the shirt.
It's almost a throwaway line at the beginning of the movie. They come down from the mountain, and he's digging in his bag, and Ennis says, "Oh, I can't believe I left my damn shirt on that mountain."
Yeah.
And there's maybe a look, like if you watch it again, there's probably kind of a look on Jack's face.
Maybe.
But they just say it and you move on, and it does not come back until the very end of the movie, where Jack has the bloody shirts from their fight that last time they saw each other on Brokeback Mountain, where he's got his own shirt wrapped around Ennis's shirt. And of course, we haven't said it yet, but Jack dies in the movie because even though his wife says, oh, he was changing a tire and it kind of exploded and it was just a horrible accident.
Which, hey, is plausible. It does happen.
But they overplay her audio with what really happened, which is some guys beat him to death because they knew what he was and they just left him. Presumably. But that's why Ennis is at the house, and he just kind of finds these shirts tucked in a corner. And it's the moment where he realizes that Jack loved him. Like, they never, ever say, I love you. Even at their closest, at the most time they were spending together, that's not a word they use to describe this. But this is a clear indication to him that this is someone who cared deeply. Like, he took his shirt so that he could have a part of him there with him in the closet forever. And I'm sure, you know, it's in the closet. That's a very on-the-nose metaphor for 2005.
Oh, God, yeah.
But it's a deeply emotional moment where Ennis is just like, I'm taking this with me.
Yeah, I need to have a piece of this.
And the way that they finish the movie with he opens it up and he's reversed them. So now he's metaphorically, his shirt is holding on to Jack.
Yeah.
Like, it's a sad moment. The movie ends on such a sad note, but also an accepting note. Like, he's finally gotten to this place where I had this and it was good and I'm going to hold on to it and I'm never letting go of it.
Yeah, and he is allowing himself to do something that everything inside of him is telling him that he doesn't have to do. I don't have to be a part of my daughter's life. I don't have to continue to be a father or anything like that.
I got to be the ranch hand that I am.
I can continue to be the ranch hand and go off and do a fucking roundup every 3 months or whatever the fuck it is. But no, he says, they can find themselves another fucking cowboy. I'm going to go to my first daughter's wedding.
My daughter's getting married, and I'm not going to miss it. And that's like the first time in the whole movie that he has done something that he wants to do because that's the better choice. He sees the look on his daughter's face. Kate Mara, who I forgot was in this movie.
Little baby Kate Mara. She's like fucking 20 years old in this thing.
But the disappointment on her face when he says the thing she kind of expected, which was, I'm not going to make it to your wedding. And he sees that and finally says, you know what? I'm going to be a better father and I'm going to participate and I am not missing this wedding. And she just fills up with absolute joy in a way that she kind of was prepared to not guess.
And she's wanted so much to be a part of her father's life because I think she can also tell, because she's the older of the bunch, she can tell that her dad is different and needing help. to the point where she even says, I kind of want to come and live with you. Because I don't want to live with my mom, who with all of her stuff and
and I'm a teenager.
This new guy. I'm a teenager. I need to do what I want to do, and I want to be with you because I haven't spent enough time with you.
And you need the help. And
clearly,
I know it.
Clearly. The other people we have barely mentioned here, Linda Cardellini also shows up in the movie as another gal who is really, really trying hard to get with Ennis after he comes back and clearly I'm not going to go off anymore. She's making the hard sell to him. And again, he is pushing her away in so many different ways. And I think what happens here is that he just up and leaves without telling her exactly what was going on. She doesn't know what's going on, really, I don't think. But she just moves on and gets with this other guy.
All she knows is this man is inaccessible, so she gives up.
Yeah, and
it breaks her fucking heart. Like, she loves this guy, but he is never going to love her back.
And when he's sitting in that booth saying, I'm sorry I wasn't more fun. That's maybe one of the saddest moments in the movie.
And when her response is, girls don't fall in love with fun.
Right.
That's not what she cares about. She cares so much about him, and she can't get through. He's got the wall up, and nothing is ever getting through that wall. The other person we haven't talked about is Anne Hathaway. So this is an interesting point of her career, and we touched on it in the beginning. The entire cast is at this moment where they are all on the springboard launching their careers.
Absolutely.
You know, Heath Ledger is a growing star. Jake Gyllenhaal. Michelle Williams, this is so early for her breaking into movies, and she's gone on to be nominated.
One of her first movies that she did after that TV show.
She's been nominated so many times. But Anne Hathaway in particular was known for princess movies at this point.
Right.
So she literally, one of the things I read, auditioned for this movie while she was filming the second Princess Bride movie. And they said, you know, this next person who's coming in wanted to apologize. She's going to apologize for her appearance because she's in like full makeup and princess garb. And she was literally on a lunch break from filming the other movie.
Going to this audition.
And then in this one, you know, she's full, you know, not full frontal, but she's topless. And she's really trying to get out of, I'm a teenage actor. Yeah. She's not there anymore. She's trying to make the leap into, I'm a serious actress. And even she's really good in this movie. I think she gets a little bit overlooked. She gets a little overshadowed because her part is smaller than the other ones.
It is, yeah.
But that scene at the end where Ennis calls to say, he's dead. Okay, I want to know what happened. Mm-hmm. And she just very quietly tells him a story. Don't think it's true, because there's some moments where you could almost say that what she's saying is the truth, but I don't know why they would show us the alternate version.
Here's my theory about that. I think the story about the tire blowing up was the story that maybe the cops told her.
Or someone told her.
Because, hey, this is Texas, and maybe the cops had something to do with it. I have no idea.
Or this is just what she is telling people because it's more comfortable for her.
Yep, it's more plausible than after you found out what he was. And like, look at the scowl on her face and her being dismissive of this person who was calling.
But then it's not just that. Like, she gets genuinely emotional when she finds out, well, he wanted to be, you know, he wanted his ashes scattered on Brokeback Mountain, whatever that is. I've never heard of it. It could have been a place he made up.
Yeah.
And Ennis tells her exactly what it is, and it suddenly clicks why this guy is important and why he wanted to be on that mountain. Her eyes completely welling up, and she has a few moments where she whimpers. Like, she's barely...
Yes, that happens a couple of times.
Barely holding it together, and she's just like, okay. Literally cannot even contain it, because she also is realizing, in a way that Michelle Williams, you know, while she knew at the beginning and knew their whole marriage until they got divorced, I don't think that Anne Hathaway's character had a fucking clue. She had no idea.
I don't think so.
And she is still now processing it and dealing with it in real time. And you're being confronted on the phone by the actual person at the center of this. And you didn't expect that today. You didn't expect that ever. And she's really good at conveying all of that without saying a fucking word. So
the whimpers, like you said, I think that right there gives me a little bit different of an idea of where she's coming from in this.
It pushes it over the edge.
Yeah. Just tells you, again, all of these actors in this movie give so much of themselves to it. And I think all of these stories that came out, like when they were doing the awards tour, and Heath Ledger, to his credit, went out there and defended this movie, defended the characters, defended the story, and tried to stop people from having the movie become a joke, because in 2005, the popular culture was still okay with having people like this made fun of.
And it was like so many moments in this, I was like remembering the time and place this came out. And even
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it was just a punchline on all like the late night shows and all of these things. People who had never even seen the fucking movie.
Totally.
They just reduce it to,
It's
as you
the-
said,
the gay cowboy movie. Yeah.
And it is so much more than that. This is a really deep, complex movie. It's also gorgeous. We've barely talked about Ang Lee, and his direction and the cinematography got nominated for it. And when you watch it now, you go, wow, okay. Now I understand
Totally.
why the Academy was like really championing this movie, but also how it might be that it didn't get enough to win. It was the thing of going back and forth, and people thought Crash might win, but it hadn't been winning.
Yeah, and I think maybe because this movie came out in December, it wasn't a part of the public consciousness enough. Maybe the Academy didn't have enough time to actually watch it. All they were doing was maybe absorbing the outside influences to say, no, this movie's a fucking joke. Everybody's making fun of it. Let's not vote for the gay cowboy movie.
It's also before they really made efforts to change the body of the Academy.
Exactly.
This is old white men. Old white men in 2005 overwhelmed the Academy.
Yeah.
And frankly, they just didn't have enough momentum behind it. And they have like polled people about this year in particular and said, if you had to vote today, which one would you vote for? And I've seen Crash, and you have seen Crash. And it's one of these movies where it's an important movie, where, it's about race and how those things collide, like literally crashing into each other. It's a heavy-hitting metaphor.
A movie that white people can go to and make themselves feel better about being white.
Yes. It's not a bad movie, but I will tell you, I've only seen that one once. And even 20 years ago, I was like, I mean, okay, it's fine. But if you look at the rest of the lineup, frankly, there was other stuff they could have chosen from. We have not seen Munich, but I hear it's quite good. It's a Spielberg movie, for fuck's sake.
Sure. We almost covered it.
We love Good Night and Good Luck. You know, it's a movie about the media. And
I love Good Night and Good
that
Luck.
was during, the Iraq war and stuff. So, a lot of press coverage and how the news reports important stories and people's battles with the media from the public side. There's stuff there you could have tapped into. The person who won Best Actor was Philip Seymour Hoffman for Capote. It's another role about a gay man. So it's not like they were completely shut off from it, but they just weren't there. The Academy wasn't ready to do it. And there were enough people that were like, oh, fuck no, I'm not watching the gay cowboy movie.
You know what? Just having this movie be in the conversation, and I think we can probably start wrapping up here. Having the movie be in the conversation, at the very least, it entered the public consciousness in a way that a movie that has covered things like this in the past. This is not the first gay movie of all time, but it is the first one that entered the lexicon where people started talking about not only just gay people in general, but gay men.
And regardless of if it won or not, I think we would still be talking about this movie 20 years later.
100%.
If it had won, and we're still talking about it because it didn't win. It's easy to look at it and go, well, it should have won. And it probably should have, but you have to understand the context of why it didn't.
Which is why we covered it for our Decade series.
Well, of course, obviously. And if it wasn't for this, we would have found a place for this movie because this is one of those must-see movies.
Yeah.
But Trent, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap this one up?
There was just one line here that I haven't mentioned yet. I can't remember exactly what the context was, but Anna said something to the effect of, if you can't fix it, you gotta stand it. Which is to say, I can't fix the problems of the world. I can't fix the hate in everybody's heart. So instead of that, I just have to deal with it. And this is the way he is dealing with it.
Which is still a relevant sentiment even today.
Correct.
Well, I think that's going to about do it for Brokeback Mountain, but we would love to hear your thoughts about this 2005 entry. Is this one of your favorites? Is this one that you can't really watch that often because it makes you sad? Like, how do you feel about Brokeback Mountain?
And is this one that you revisit?
Do you think it was robbed at the Academy Awards, or are you here to defend Crash?
I mean, I'm here to hear it.
Send us those thoughts, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We got an email from one of our longtime listeners, Sergio, and it's called Old Water. So we'll see what he has to say here. Dear youngsters, Betsy and Trent, I believe he's referring to us as youngsters.
I guess.
I am old. Okay, that's an interesting start.
Okay.
I was born in the year that Jaws was first released in cinemas across the globe. It was a glorious year. I hear you think 50 is not that old, but let me explain. There are adults alive today who have had children as adults, who are now adults with children. Yes, grandparents who weren't even born when Cocoon came out a decade after Jaws.
Yeah, Betsy knows somebody that she used to work with that is our same age, and they're a grandma.
And she's been a grandma for like a year or two already.
Yeah, that makes us, I don't know. I don't really know what to feel about that, but continue.
Well, he continues, yes, you guys could have been grandparents.
Yeah, exactly.
I could be someone's grandpapa. That said, Kevin James, who stars in Hitch, was born even a decade earlier. Paul Blart is now 60.
Yuck.
Yours, regular old fan, Sergio. P.S. Brokeback Mountain has nothing to do with water. Or am I missing something?
I think he sent this right after our Crimson Tide episode for 1995.
And our Cocoon episode in 84.
And
85,
Jaws in 75. All of those movies have something to do with water and the fear of water. And no, I'm sorry, Brokeback Mountain has water in it, but it is not a central portion of it anyway.
It is not. And the rest of this email about being old, I assume, is referencing the fact that Wilford Brimley was a decrepit old man at 49 in the movie Cocoon. But thank you, Sergio, as always, for sending that email.
Yeah, thanks, man.
If you'd like to be like Sergio, that email again, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. You could also visit any of our social media pages. All those links are in the podcast description. If you just want to send us a message on any of those platforms or comment on any of the posts, you can find all those links there. We would also love it if you go and rate and review the show. 5 stars, say nice things, make us feel good. It's a nice way to let more people know about the podcast, and then they can come and listen to us too.
Yeah, we got one just recently, and it made us smile.
And of course, if you want more podcasts from Trent and Betsy, you can go to patreon.com/neverseenitpod, where for $5 a month, you can get all of our extra shows. That's right. We have a new show every single Wednesday, in addition to this show that comes out every Sunday.
Yeah, if you want more content from us, we talk about our favorite movies. We talk about more horror movies. We talk about romantic movies. We talk about, old movies that are just random. And every so often, when there are 5 Wednesdays in the month, we'll throw in something extra that we kind of don't have planned. And I think the month of July is one of those months.
And sometimes we just talk. So if you enjoy it, hearing us talk just in general, visit us, patreon.com/neverseenitpod. All right, Trent, we've finished 2005. We are closing in on the end of our Decades series, but we have 2 more episodes before we are finished. Our next episode is going to be a movie from 2015 that neither of us has seen. What will we be covering next?
Yeah, this decade, whenever we do our Decade series, is always really hard for us because we've been together since 2011, so we've seen most of these movies that we've wanted to see. However, 2015 is going to be a fucking banger because we're watching Sicario.
Somehow we didn't get to that one at the time, but we've heard great things since it came out, so the time is now. Come back next week for Sicario, but until then, this has been Never Seen It, and my name is Betsy.
My name's Trent.
We'll see you then.